Welcome back, YouTubers. This is my review of the Figma number 350 and EX-038 of Saber Lilly, also known as Arteria Pendragon, and this is the third extended version from the Fate Stay Night spin-off game, Fate Grand Order. Now, first I should explain what the deal is with these two figures. They are effectively the same character per se, but one is a later version, this one. Now, first let's show you off the box. As you can see, it's your usual box. Nothing too special here, but it's a nice one, so, usual thing, not really that different from any other Figma box. This one, you're probably wondering what it is. Well, Figma's parent company, Good Smile, tends to like to release exclusive figures during festivals. I believe this one was the summer festival. The problem is those are not commercially available except through Good Smile's website. They usually release any leftover they have from it. So you're not going to find this one very easily. The box, as you can see, is pretty plain. No real details on it about the figure, which is something I have always felt is a little disappointing about these newer ones. They don't really give you much in the way of explanation of what each figure is. But that aside, let's get to the actual figures. First off, we're going to do the full armored version you see here, which is personally my favorite one of the two designs. Mainly because in the video game this is based off, it's a cell phone game, it's a free-to-play, but it's the usual pay-as-to-play thing that they do every time these days. This is her default appearance and starting form. As you go up, you can unlock ascended forms of her, which is what the other figure is. As you can see, it's a pretty heavily armored figure. It's a little different from the classic Saber's armor, but pretty much the same in the design of the breastplate and other armor pieces. She's wielding Caliburn, the sword in the stone, instead of Excalibur because this figure is originally based off of a video game extra, Fate Unlimited Code. That game was pretty fun, and it was released on the PSP in the United States. But she was an extra character just to give us the option to use Caliburn instead of Excalibur for King Arthur, basically. Anyway, as you can see, the figure's pretty big. The skirt's a little hard to pose her in, because it's kind of weighted on either side so it can fall over. So this is when you want to use the stand. Pegs in the back here, so that's really a good thing because it's a lot easier to move her around and attach it, because if it's in the small of the back, this stand gets in the way. But she's got your standard degrees of movement, and this one came with a pre-order bonus of an extra face. So you've got your... These things just like to slip out of my hand. Her embarrassed face, her smiling face, her default face, and of course this one of her screaming. Usually this is the one she uses her Noble Phantasm on. It also comes with the sheath for Caliburn, which is nice, so you can have her unsheathing it or something. The problem is, the hand they have for it, which is this one, doesn't fit it perfectly, so you usually have to have this holding it from the bottom. It can also hold the sword, as it has a little indentation for it. And it comes with 6 hands, which is a little on the few side for me. It's one of the things I don't like is they'll give us a figure like this, which we really like, but give us very few bits to it. Extra parts and such. Even extra hands sometimes we don't get, which kind of depresses me. Overall, though, I do really like this one, especially because I don't know why, but I particularly like the fact that Saber's hair, instead of being the generic bun that we always get her in her other figures, is instead in a ponytail with a big black bow. And the ponytail is on a pivot joint, so it can be moved around a bit, which is another nice touch because if it weren't on a pivot joint, it would look kind of silly if she's meant to be jumping and her hair isn't flying back a little. So I do like this figure. I really like its posability. It's got the same joints here and here to allow you full range of movement. Extra joint in case one of those gets lost or broken, of course. And even these parts of the armor can move. So it's a really good design and a definite must if you're collecting these. The problem you'll have is if you're collecting these, you'll probably want the third Ascension form, and that's going to be tricky. As I said, this figure was only released at the festival and on the website. It's usually one of the more expensive figures, and they do this at least twice a year. There's one for summer and one for winter, I think, because they do a festival during both. You can pre-order them on their website, but you've got to pay their prices, which are usually a fair bit higher than the going rates on every other figure that you will find on other websites. Generally, I give these a miss because there just isn't much to them. I have bought a couple of these figures, and aside from a couple, I have frequently found that they just don't have very much to them. Even this figure, it only comes with a measly 5 hands and 1 extra face of her closing her eyes and smiling. The one good thing is the parts for this one are interchangeable with the other one, so it does give you extra options, but it is a little bit of a downside and something I don't recommend if you're a casual fan. I wouldn't buy the summer figures unless it's something really special. They do that occasionally. There will be figures that come with a lot more. Generally, they're a little bit more. But the regular figures like this one, only buy it if it's really something special to you. Now, as you can see, it's the same as the other one. Has the sword, has the hands. It's got the skirt again, and it's got the same posability. Lots of joints to make it move. And it's made of the harder plastic for the lower part. This bit here is the softer kind, which I don't know if you know this, but I am not a big fan of softer plastics for these because I don't like them because they tend to break down more easily. Over time, the softer plastics can break, so the harder ones usually are a bit better. But otherwise, it's the same as the other figure. It's probably a lot of the same molded parts that you'll see in other figures like this. But it's pretty much the same otherwise. And it's a good figure. I recommend this one. Especially because I just happen to think Saber is a good character. Of the 3 main protagonists, she's my second favorite, Rin being my favorite, and Sakura being my least favorite. But between the two of them, the armored one is the better choice, and in all honesty, there is one other reason that it's something that is a pet peeve of mine in many pieces of fiction. The feet. She's wearing high heels. This one, although she's wearing heels, it is a bigger, thicker, armored heel. Which actually makes a little more sense since, it's armor. But the problem I have is, I have never understood why characters like this, who are meant to be in battle, are put in high heels. You see it in comic books, movies, all sorts of things. Why are these characters wearing high heels? I'm not a woman, but even I understand that high heels are not easy to walk in. So why are we seeing this? It makes no sense. And it just baffles my mind. I can understand the armored heel being slightly bigger, and the thing you have to also note is that while the first form has big, thick heels, which would make sense, hers are skinny, thin ones. I just don't get it. Why put a character in heels? Even the Joan of Arc one that I reviewed previously has thicker heels. This is something that comic books and other fiction writers, anime creators, all need to realize. You cannot put a character meant for battle in high heels. It just doesn't work. It makes no logical sense. Give them like an armored thick heel that gives them traction for when they're locked sword to sword with an enemy. You don't want them to fall because they break a heel or their heel just gives out on them because their ankle buckles or something. This is not a good idea. Anyway, that's enough of me ranting about something which is just silly in my opinion for them to do. But at any rate, if you like what you're seeing, please like, subscribe, and comment below and share this video with your friends. And I'll see you guys next time. Ciao!